Hey, welcome to my studio here in New York City. I'm Daniel Norton, and today we're going to talk about focal length and compression. That's right, I made a little air quotes because I know there's a debate about whether or not that word is real or what it is, but let's just assume that compression is the thing here. So people often wonder why you might use a different focal length of lens for portrait. So I've got the new Nikon 70-200 zoom, so the perfect opportunity to do this. Now we've done this before where I've used a single lens and we've shot close to a subject and further back and then cropped them so they had the same proportions. So you can see that where you stand really makes the difference, right? Now when we're talking about compression, I'm talking about the idea that like when you're real close to somebody, the nose starts to stretch forward, the ears start to stretch back, and when you're further away, things start to flatten, right? That's the compression. So you end up getting kind of a little more square jawed, the ears move forward. This can be preferred in a portrait. I think that personally, if it goes too far, like you start using too long of a lens, meaning you need to stand back really far, it starts to look odd. Like you will see images of people sometimes where it's like, wow, that's really not kind of what they look like. And that's usually because you're standing super far away from them and it's overly compressed. So we'll talk a little bit about like that. I'll show you some shots. We'll take some shots using the 70mm end of the scale and the 200. What I really want to do is look at this particular lens, right? This 70-200 range. This is a great lens for portraits. We can see where we might want to sit in this range to create the look of a portrait that we like. Okay, so since this is really about framing and where we're going to stand, the star of this one is going to be the 70-200 lens here. This is the 70-200 2.8 lens by Nikon. As far as lighting, going to keep it simple, nice portrait lighting. We're going to have a Profoto B1X in a 2-foot softbox and a Profoto B10 and a 1-foot strip. Again, this is really just about keeping it simple. I'm also going to use this short roll of Savage paper behind me to use as kind of a framing guide because we want to try to match the frame as best as possible so we can kind of show similar, as I say, apples to apples. Okay, so I've got Marisa here and I've got the beautiful Nikon 70-200 zoom lens. Back when I was a young man, I always used these zoom lenses, but now I use, well, not this zoom lens, obviously new, but no, zoom lenses are great because they give you the opportunity to switch up your focal length. I'm a studio shooter, but I still love to use a zoom lens because, you know, sometimes you just want to change your focal length real quick when you're working with a subject and you just want to do it. Now, why, you might say, would you want to do that? We're going to talk about that a little bit right now. The thing about zoom lenses is, yes, there's a few different reasons to have it. If you are fixed in one spot, and you are forced to be there and you have to create different images, having the zoom lens allows you to frame it up different, right? You probably know that if you go out and shoot anything outside, right? You're standing there and you're like, oh, I can't get any closer, I'm gonna zoom in, I'm gonna pull out. But really the other thing, even when you're in the studio, when I can move around all I want, where I stand will affect the way that Marisa, or whoever your subject is, looks in the image. The closer I am to somebody, the more that it'll be stretched. So like the ears will go back further, the nose will look bigger. And if you, to the extreme, if you, which you see people do at wide-angle lenses, if you get real close to somebody, you get that real exaggerated look, right? Now, the opposite is true if you get further away. The further away from something you are, the more it kind of compresses. So things smush together, things look more squared up. So oftentimes people will say, you want to use a little bit of a longer lens for a portrait. It's not so much that the lens is longer, it's that you're going to be standing a little bit further back. So we can do that with this lens. So I've got this zoom here. I know how I want to frame her up. Let's say this is my frame. This is not some perfect composition. It's really here to demonstrate something. I've got a small background here. So I'm going to frame it so you see the edges of the background and a little bit of that light behind her so we can kind of use that as our reference. We're going to set up a 70mm shot. We'll shoot a few here so we see what she looks like. Then we'll use the 200mm, so we'll back up to get as close to left to right framing as we can. Now, the lighting here is pretty simple. I've got a Profoto 2x3 OCF softbox and a 1x3 OCF softbox strip kind of in the back. Real simple. I'm not lighting the background because I didn't exactly love this color. It's a nice color against the blue, but it wasn't exactly the color I wanted to my eye. So I made it darker by not lighting it. And I actually really like it. It's kind of like a little bit of a chocolate color. Almost like a coffee chocolate. Oh. Like a chocolate-chino. Oh. Yeah. Anyways, let's take a shot of this. This is 70mm. We've got the Nikon here. And we'll go boom. We got one shot there. We can see what it looks like, real clean, right? Simple. Now what's important here is that, to me, at 70 millimeters for a full frame camera, and I know they say 50 millimeters is normal, somewhere around 50 to 70, I think people look the way they look. Now, seems to be a lot of photographers don't want people to look the way they look. I like people to look the way they look, so I like to shoot in this range. Also, I'm relatively close to Marisa, so even though I have a loud booming voice, not compared to her, you know, you don't have to yell. We're pretty close. It feels comfortable, especially for somebody who's not used to being photographed. I don't have to scream at them. I'm close enough to have a conversation. So I like this distance. If you notice, we've got the edges here. This is going to be relevant later. And we've got from, you know, basically about midway up her arm to just over the top of her head. So we'll shoot a few like this. I think it looks nice. You know, nice simple lighting. Like that. Lens is nice and fast. Okay, so that's all wonderful. Let's now, I mean, obviously I could do every focal length in between. I'm not gonna do that. That video would be too long. I'm just gonna jump all the ways to 200, which actually is gonna require me to kind of go, well, not really outside, but in the other room of the studio. So let me get over here. I'm gonna basically try to frame this up the same, as best as possible. I'm gonna zoom all the ways to 200. And I'm gonna move my camera back. The reason why I left edges is so that I could do exactly that, right? I'm gonna move back until I have roughly the same edges. Not gonna be exactly the same, but shall be close. Okay. I'm gonna have a little bit less in the frame here. I can't really get any further back. I'm starting to really yank my tether cord here. No, I want you to do the same. Okay, so now we're gonna do a test shot. You ready? Okay. So this is at 200 millimeters. I'm so far away. And we can see that a couple things are going on here. Not only do we have, well, first of all, we can see the softbox. Not only do we have more of her in the shot, right? If we look at her face, we can see that her jawline seems more pushed forward, flattened, if you will. Her nose seems a little bit smaller, which is a shame because you have a really good sized nose. Jaw seems a little square. It just has a different feel, right? It compresses the face down. Also, you notice we got more of her in the shot. We've got another like third of Marisa in the shot. So we've got more in the shot, even though we have the same width side to side, just because of the nature of it. So what we're ending up with here is actually the ability to kind of capture more of her with the same horizontal. This horizontal is the same, but the vertical is giving us more. So it's kind of interesting. You can see how she looks different. We'll shoot a few like this to see what we like. This is something I probably would be more likely to do if I was going to, let's say, do like a full-length shot, because that would also help me with the background, because the background being so narrow. But let's shoot something like this. Now, I'm a bit further away, obviously. Marisa, good. Right. This is pretty good. I can have a casual conversation with Marisa. Good. So we can see, I mean, if you have the space and you have the subject that's able to kind of work it without, without too much direction, you know, we definitely can work with this lens in the studio. And we got that. Now, that was just kind of a more physical demonstration. Let me come in for a second. And let's do a little bit, let's do a tighter shot, something a little bit more akin to what you would do with this. Good, good, good. Make sure everything still looks good. Yeah. All right, so this is with our 200 millimeter. Looks real clean, real nice. Good. Now that's real pretty. But now let's do the same, a similar shot. We'll zoom to 70. We'll come in and do a similar thing. So now we're getting to the point where we're getting kind of close, right? Because this will make a difference. The closer you are to somebody, the more it's going to have to introduce that or remove that, we'll say, compression. And we can actually see, I'm not going to change anything because I want to show you the comparison of the lenses as well. There we go. That's our 70, so let's shoot a couple like this. So that all works out, right? This is really nice too. Now I will say that if I were going to shoot this type of shot, right? I probably would not, like this close shot like this, I probably wouldn't go to a 70. I typically don't shoot super close like that if I'm going for like more of a beauty shot. So this is where your in-betweens work, right? So if you are somebody that likes prime lenses and you want to find something, Nikon makes a beautiful 105. So like if I went to like 105, that's going to move me back far enough that I can introduce some of that compression, but I'm still pretty close, right? So let's just see what that looks like. And I think this is a good compromise, right? You've got that bit of compression, if you will, but I'm still close enough to communicate and make a portrait. So I would say don't always just immediately jump to the longest lens you have, thinking that that's going to be the most flattering, because what you will end up with, especially if you start going into really long lenses, is you're going to end up with the idea that you're so far away from the person that they get so compressed that they start to not look like themselves. Like you may have seen or may have done this and made photos of people where you look at them and you're just like, wow, that really looks off. And that's probably part of it. It's the same way that getting super close will really distort them. It's getting too far back will also distort them in a different way. So we're going to take a look at the images and see how much compression Marisa likes.
Ooh.
And also, if you want to be really cool, you put the equipment in the shot. It's very, not really.
Fashion, styles, I like it. I think these ones I like.
Those are pretty.
These are, ooh. Too bad I have that hand in there. Headshot, bye.
Oh my God, I used to work for this one catalog, and the art director hated hands. It was like, don't put a hand in the shot every time a model would put their hand. It was really funny.
I only did, wait, are we still recording?
Yeah, we are. I was just telling you the story. Yeah, that was good. So I will put Marisa's information in the description for you guys to follow her. Go ahead and follow me, Daniel Norton Photographer, and I'll see you next time.
Hey! Thank you so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed this video, click one of these videos to watch some more. And then click down here to subscribe and ring the bell. That's all.